The common question is, can I design web pages without knowing HTML? The answer could be yes. There are tools and templates that you can use to create web pages without knowing HTML. But does that mean that you no longer need to learn HTML to create web pages? The answer is no. You will still need to learn HTML if you wish to be a professional web designer and go beyond the basic of those pages that you have created using some tools or templates. Going beyond the basic means to be able to edit or modify those pages so that your pages display the latest and updated information to your visitors. Going beyond the basic also means to be able to add additional features and functionalities to your pages so that your pages become responsive and dynamic. To add additional features and functionality, you may require using CSS, JavaScript, and so on. And you can't deal with CSS or JavaScript without knowing HTML. In fact, if you wish to learn CSS and JavaScript, most of the time, the prerequisite is you must have the knowledge of HTML. So the bottom line is, you can create web pages without knowing HTML, but you can't go far to be a professional web designer without knowing HTML. Hello, this is Feroz, and you are learning how to design web pages using HTML. To make our learning process more effective, I have broken down this tutorial into a number of lessons. This is our first lesson, and we call it Introduction to HTML. If you want to follow up with this channel to learn HTML, I suggest that you subscribe this channel and press the bell icon so that you will automatically notified for our subsequent lessons. So, without any further ado, let's look at the list of the topics that we are covering today. Let's look at the topic number 1. What is HTML? So what is HTML? Okay, HTML is a short form of hypertext markup language. It is the standard markup language for creating web pages. So HTML is not a programming language. Rather, it is a markup language. A programming language is more complicated, whereas HTML is very easy to learn. HTML is basically a tag-based markup language, which is consisted of HTML tags. HTML tags can be defined as the special keywords, which are the basic building block for constructing an HTML document. Let's look at an example to see how the HTML tags looks like. In this example, each keyword within the angle brackets is an HTML tag, such as HTML, head, title, body, and so on. These are all the example of HTML tags. If you notice, in this example, each tag is in pair. But there is a small difference in each pair. Do you notice that? Okay, we say it this way. Most HTML tags comes in pairs. The pair consisted of an start tag, the first one, and its corresponding end tag, the other one in the pair. The end tag is similar to the start tag, with an exception that the end tag comes with a slash. There's a slash inside in the angle brackets. Look at an example to understand how the HTML end tags look like. So if you look at here in this example, the HTML, there is another HTML tags you have seen that we call it the start tag. But this one below, at the end, the last one, we call it HTML end tag. Similarly, there is an HTML head tag, the title tag, and the body tag. The container tag. A tag with its corresponding end tag is called container tag, because you can imagine a shape like a container from the start tag to this end tag. Alright guys, if you can remember, I said most tags comes in pairs, which means there are also tags do not come in pairs. Right. There are some HTML tags do not come in pairs. Or you can say these tags do not have their corresponding close tags. This type of tags we call single tags or empty tags. Let's look at this example of an empty tag. Okay, if you look at this tag called break tag, HR tag, and also image tag. HR is for horizontal rule. Break is actually a paragraph breaks or line breaks. So these are an example of an empty tag. You can say single tag or empty tag because these tags do not take or do not have their corresponding end tag. You will soon come across the term called HTML element. A container tag together with its content is called HTML element. A container tag, we have learned about the container tag and the start tag and the end tag. Together it creates like a container, we call it container tag. So a container tag together with its contents we call HTML element. Okay, let's look at an example. The title, and in between we have written their introduction to HTML, and also you can see this, the end title tag. So the whole things we call it HTML element. Similar to empty tags, there are also empty or void elements. An empty element is an empty tag without a content. Like you have seen image tag previously, there was an empty tag. Then you have seen the break tag is an empty tag. And you have seen also the horizontal rule HR tag, these are empty tag. So these are the example of also an empty element. Okay, our next topic is HTML structure. All HTML documents have a common structure. The HTML structure defines the skeleton of an HTML document. An HTML5 document structure is composed of two main sections. The first section is called Document Type Declaration section. In this section, we will specify that this document is an HTML document using the keyword doc type. We also call this as a doc type declaration section. The doc type declaration is similar to an HTML tag, but the word doc type is followed by a negation or exclamation sign to tell the browser not to display this information on the web page. The second part in the HTML section defines by the HTML element, which is again composed of two sections. One is the head section and the other one is the body section. Head section is defined by the header element, which contains the meta information about HTML pages, such as page title and so on. We will learn later more about the meta tag of HTML document. The body section is defined by a body element, which contains all the visible content of a web page. Okay, our next topic is called nested HTML element. An HTML element within another HTML element is called nested HTML element. An HTML document is consisted of many and multiple levels of nested HTML element. Let's look at the same example again. In this example, the HTML element contains other elements such as head elements, the body elements, and again, the head element contains the title element within it. So this structure, an element within another element, we call it nested HTML element. What is HTML attributes? HTML attributes are simply special keywords to provide additional information to a HTML element. And the attribute will take a value to control the behavior of an HTML element. HTML attributes must be placed inside the opening tag. Look at the example to see how we can use background color attribute to change color of an HTML page. In this example, the background color, or in short we write it BG color, attributes of the body tag has taken a color value of yellow to change the page color of this web page. Okay, the HTML version we are using now is called HTML5. HTML5 was introduced in 2012, replacing its previous version, which was called HTML 4.01. We are not going to go through the history of HTML version in this short tutorial. HTML5 is the latest major version of HTML. Obviously, it provides more features compared to its previous versions. This tutorial has been designed mainly for the newbies. However, if you are already familiar with the previous version of HTML, you will be able to learn the new features added into the HTML5. Okay, enough with the theory. Now is the time to create our first HTML document. Let's get hands-on with our first HTML document. We are going to create a simple HTML page which will greet user with welcome message. And to do this, you need a text editor to write your HTML code, and you need a web browser to display the output. And I suggest use Notepad application if you are on a Windows platform. Windows Notepad obviously is the simplest text editor and very easy to use. It's a very basic text editor. However, if you are on a different platform, you may use the equivalent text editor available in that platform. So let's get started with the Windows Notepad or equivalent text editor.
Alright, we have started with Windows Notepad. In the first line, we are going to type the document type declaration using the keyword doctype, following a negation or exclamation sign. Our document type is obviously HTML. So we will write the word HTML followed by the doctype keyword to tell the browser that this is an HTML document. This is the standard declaration for HTML5 version. So we do not need to mention the version number explicitly. Okay, now below the document type declaration, we are going to type the basic HTML document structure. This is the common structure for any HTML document. First, we are going to type the HTML element. This is the root element for any HTML document, and also a container for other HTML elements. And we have mentioned earlier that the HTML section created by HTML element is consisted of two subsections. One is the header section and the other one is the body section. The header section is created using head element. The header section of an HTML document may contain meta information about an HTML document. Let's insert the head element into the HTML element. Let's break this line into more readable alignment. Okay, now it looks better and more readable. It is very important to organize your code in a fashion which makes your code more readable. Alright, after the header section, there comes the body section of the HTML document. Just type in body element right below the head element. So this is the basic HTML document structure, and our whole HTML document now should look like this. Okay, as we have mentioned earlier, that the header section may contain meta information or metadata about your HTML document. Metadata are not displayed on your web browser. They are intended for your browser or web server to tell how the information on your HTML document to be processed. Let's look into the HTML title element. We use the title element to display HTML document title on the title bar of the web browser. To do that, we are going to insert a title element in the header section within the head element, and our code now should look like this. Let's type a title for our page. Say the title is my first HTML page. So we type in the title within the title element between start and the close title tag. Our HTML coding now should look like this. Let's reorganize the code. Alright, that's it with the header section for now. Next, let's move on to the body section. The body section contains all the visible contents of the web page. We want our page to greet visitors with an welcome message. So, we insert the greeting text in the body section between the body element. Alright, enough with coding. Now let's see how our HTML is processed in a web browser. To see the HTML in a web browser, first we have to save our HTML document with an HTML extension. Click the File menu, and from the File menu, click Save As. Click the New Folder option to create a separate folder so that we can save all our HTML documents in this folder, which will be easy for us to look at the folder later on. Let's give a name for the folder as Practice HTML. And the file name might be my first HTML.html. Alright, click Save. That's all. Now let's open the HTML file in a web browser. Alright, congratulations! You have just created your first web page using HTML5. Before we conclude the exercise, let's change the page background color to yellow using BG color attributes of the body element. Save the page again and refresh or reload the page to see the change.
Okay guys, that's all for today. We are done with our first HTML lessons. In our next lesson, we will learn how to make this greeting into a big heading like headline with an header elements. Besides, we will also learn a paragraph and paragraph related elements. So to follow up with my next lessons, please subscribe the channel and click the bell icon for automatic notification. Also, don't forget to click the like button if you think you have learned something from this tutorial. See you again for our next lesson. Until then, all the best.